Hi, welcome back to the Trial by JenniFIRE Podcast Series. My name is Jennifer Butterfield, your host, and today I have my dear friend, owner of Satisfaction Skin and Spa, Leslie Santa Cruz. And welcome, Leslie. Share a little bit about yourself with the audience.
Oh, wow. Okay. Great to be here. Good to see you. It's been a while since we saw each other in person.
I
um,
know.
Let me think. Right now I'm a mother of two. I have a girl in high school and a girl in junior high. And 1 year ago on September 1st, I opened a business for myself called Satisfaction Skin and Spa. And I went to school to be an esthetician a year before that, but I've done massage for 23 years. So I thought it'd be the perfect marriage of, two techniques of touching bodies that would work. and and so I just went with it. And then the concept was, we've all seen, they're beautiful, white Buddha, Zen massage places. But I thought, you can relax anywhere. And what chills me out is high-end elevated rock and roll type stuff. So that's what I did with the spa.
Yes.
And it looks really cool, I think.
The interior design is incredible. I've had the opportunity to visit a few times, and like just from looking at your background right now, like it's black on the interior, which I think is so cutting edge. And I remember you had like framed pictures of like Rolling Stones members. Am I making that up?
Yeah, can I
David
do this?
Bowie, maybe?
This is the Rolling Stones, like in 68.
Yes.
And then there's one of Robert Plant over there. That it's a very peaceful picture to me. It's when he's holding a dove at a concert, and I think it was like 69 or 70. But he was singing, and then a dove came and landed in his hand, and everybody went insane.
Yeah.
And
oh my gosh.
Can I turn it around?
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll pick it up.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, are you on a laptop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So see, there you go. You can kind of see it.
Oh, yeah. That's so cool. Like that moment was captured. I mean,
yeah.
And doves are such...
There's a long hallway here. So when we go, when people go down the hallway, they see that. And I find it very relaxing. Plus Robert Plant is beautiful.
Well, and doves are such a significant symbol of like faith and like purity, I think, and hope. Like in anywhere you look, any spiritually wise texts and things like that, I feel like doves are very symbolic of goodness. That's cool. I am, I ask all of my guests this question. And so I'm going to ask you, I'm curious, what was the conversation around personal finance like in your home growing up? And feel free to share as little or as much about, your childhood and growing up as it relates to personal finance that you feel comfortable with. So yeah, I'm curious.
Okay. I'll try to be as honest as possible. What I want to say also is like, there's not good in my world. There's not good and bad. It just is. And, anything I say about my upbringing or anything, it's just, I'm at peace with it. But I was raised a Jehovah's Witness and, there were 5 of us kids. So I have 4 younger brothers. The focus of the family life was like the religion, and I'm very grateful for the love that my parents showed us, and they created an environment that felt safe. But money was always an issue. When I was younger, I didn't really understand what was happening, but we moved a total of 16 times. And
Mm,
so, and that's like
wow.
different place, different schools, different, and at the time it
Wow.
was just how it was. But as I've gotten older, I'm like, oh, that was some intense change and a lot. Um, so subsequently, it's very important to me to stay in the same. I've lived on the same street for 18 years now, and
Yeah.
I'm not moving out of this neighborhood until my girls graduate from high school because I think roots are important. Um, but going back to money, yeah, I was raised uh, knowing that there wasn't a lot of it, knowing that it was stressful, and part of it was the religion too, but that does affect me now. So, you know, we were raised believing that the end was coming at any moment. So like,
Mm,
um, you
mhm.
know, it was like, we didn't think you'd start kindergarten. We thought God would destroy the earth by now. We didn't think you'd be in sixth grade. We thought God would
Oh,
destroy the earth by now. You know, so I think the way
wow.
that affected me and others raised that way was like, why go to college? Why save money? It's going to be all over any soon anyway. So,
Wow.
yeah. So
Yeah.
planning for the future is challenging for me monetarily, but I'm learning and I'm doing it now.
Mhm. Wow. That is so profound. And, I think like it also, I don't know, it ties into like the consume. It's interesting because it's like, obviously, and I don't know a whole lot other than some of the things you've shared with me about Jehovah's Witness and like that fellowship of people, but it is parallel to this mentality that I think our society has adopted around consumerism, right? That it's like,
Mhm.
don't think about the consequences of it. Like impulsive spending is perfectly fine. You only live once kind of mentality. And
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just so fascinating. And I'm curious too, like this is coming up, like, did your parents talk with you about money? Like, did you like ever have like sit down conversations where, I don't know, like I'm trying to think if my mom and I ever sat down to go over a budget, and things like that. But like I'm curious if you had that experience or knew of any of your brothers having that experience either, or yeah.
Yeah. None of us had that experience. And
Yeah.
through no fault of their own, I don't think my parents were ever sat down and
Right.
someone taught them that. And so,
Right.
you know, I look back and there's there's financial decisions I would have made much differently.
Yeah.
But I learned from it, and what it does is prepare you for the future. It's like at this point, it's good information to have that you didn't buy a house when you were 28 years old in Austin for $100,000. At the time, my landlord was just like, "Don't you want to buy this house?" And I'm like, "I'm so young. Why would I want to buy a house?" So much different now, and I do think about that house a lot.
Oh my gosh. Oh
I
my
know.
goodness. Yeah, totally. It's interesting because they say like a lot of our adult habits are formed in like the first 5 years of our lives. And I don't know why that just came to mind, but
Yeah.
it's so interesting. I think that you and I have a very deep like soul connection. And so I think
Yes.
about that. I
Hmm.
I feel like in many ways I'm looking into a mirror a lot of
No,
times when
right. We
you
even
and
kind
I
of
have
look alike
conversations.
today. Yeah.
I
Um,
know, and like our hair is both long right now.
um,
Um, yeah, so I want to pivot to like, so obviously at a certain point you left the house, right? And I know that you
mhm,
were previously married and
mhm,
less focused on the marriage itself, but more so your experience, like as a stay-at-home mom, and I'm curious,
mhm.
what was your level of involvement with household finances at the time, that you were married? And can you share a little bit about that?
Well, before I met my now ex husband, I had not had insurance since I was like 18 years old. I met him when I was
Mhm.
34. So I hadn't had
Okay.
insurance since I was 18. I had never balanced a checkbook because I was a massage therapist, but my budget looked like we'll just work more to have more
Yeah.
money and then you can pay all the things with no real plan. Um,
Mm.
and I'll probably talk about this a bit more, but the vagueness of it all. I now feel like I was sort of addicted to the vagueness fantasy of it. And it
Right.
kind of kept me um, from inventorying the things that were going on. Like how much, like exactly how much are you making? Exactly how much are you spending? And,
Right.
but I'm very grateful for my ex. And when we did get together, all of a sudden I had insurance. All of a sudden I didn't have to worry about rent or a car or, it was a gift to be taken care of like that. But I subsequently developed no skills. Still, I had no skills. um, and
Yeah.
I'm also grateful, truly, for that situation because I had two beautiful girls, and I got to spend a lot of time with them. And I never quit working. Quit working hard stop, but I was like part time with massage clients I'd had forever. But something very positive I learned is you can have a business for yourself. So I lived with someone who'd opened 4 businesses and they were going, and just being around that spirit is inspiring. And just to know someone who's done that, so on a very large level, I think part of the reason I did this, even though we were already divorced and all that, is that I knew it could truly be done. And I knew it wouldn't be easy,
Mhm.
but I knew it would be worth it.
Mhm.
So,
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, that's just so powerful, and that this was one of the big reasons why I've seen your evolution into becoming an entrepreneur from being a stay-at-home mom and
Yeah.
going through the divorce and taking care of yourself and then thinking of your girls and like making this decision to start this business for yourself. And I think it's so commendable. It makes me almost want to cry because I think about, I've talked about this a few times on the podcast, but I'm in a few like closed women's groups on Facebook, and I've also written a few blogs about them as well.
Mhm.
But like one of them is women's personal finance, and it's a Facebook group on probably, oh gosh, there's like at least 60,000 women in it now, or non-binary
Oh,
people. And
yeah.
they, I mean, you can search anything in that search engine, and like there has been a like incredible discussion about it, and
Mhm.
commentary. And I learned so much. That's one of the like avenues I first got into personal finance was through that page. And I think about how many times something comes up on my feed and it is in that group specifically, and it's a woman who, you know, needs to leave for whatever reason,
Mhm.
or wants to leave. Um, Maybe the husband is cheating. I mean, and this is just objective, but like,
Right.
abuse, like there's a number of different things that occur. And it's like there isn't that level of security and they feel like they can't leave
Mhm.
because they've been a stay at home mom for years and years and years, and
Mhm.
um, the women of course just like flock to that person and give them suggestions on different ways to handle that, and they're like, I've been through this myself. And so I mean, I just think there's something so inspirational about having gone through what you've been through. And I feel really grateful that you were willing to come on the podcast to talk about it. And yeah, I think this is a good time to ask, like, do you mind sharing a little bit about how your relationship with money changed when you went through the divorce?
Well, there were a few changes. um,
Yeah.
Admittedly,
Yeah.
I went crazy and spent a lot of money. And I think, and money I didn't really have that was on credit. And, but I now realize I was just trying to cover up pain and then assert some sort of power.
Yeah.
But then that came to an end. And then I started to get really conscious that I was on my own with these two kids and that it wasn't just my money, that it was their money also, because I want to be a good mom and show up for them. So, and then start going to school, that was challenging because I wasn't working as much. And so all of a sudden, a $50 trip to, In-N-Out Burger for dinner, that turned into like kind of a big deal when, we could be eating at home. And
Yeah.
I had never lived that way before. And it just, the money, I really felt the value of money and how it is also a vein of health. So there's financial health. And one of my friends pointed out recently is like, part of the reason they call it currency is because it's a current.
Yes.
Of water.
Yes.
And, it's not meant to be hoarded and then it becomes stagnant. You're not supposed to give it all away, but it's like, a medium calm stream.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like last night, for instance, I just had to go to the grocery store just to grab a few things. And I'd already spent, some budgeted money at the grocery store, but this was like paper towels and toilet paper. So had to get that. And then I noticed, some coupons that applied. And I was like, great, that makes me feel good. I mean, like actually I get a dopamine release using coupons now. And
Yeah.
but then I go through the quick checkout or the express lane, and then the numbers didn't look right because I was talking to someone, and then I walk away with the receipt, and I was like studying it. I'm like, he didn't use those coupons, and so the old me,
See?
first of all, the old me would not have even have looked at the coupons. I would have just grabbed what I needed. But now the new me, because it felt a little weird because I'm conflict avoidant, but I was like, okay, it's really because I checked myself and I'm like, he really didn't use them. So then I was just like, hey, I go, I don't think he applied the coupons. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. And so, so he had to call a manager over. And so while that was happening, and it's the express lane, so everybody's like trying to get out.
Oh my gosh.
So there was a man like checking out. And so that sort of disturbs his checkout. And I was just like, trying to make light of it. And I go something about math. I was like, I worked really hard putting that math together to use those coupons. And he goes, yeah, math. And then he was like, what do you do for a living? And I said, well, I'm a massage therapist and an esthetician, and I've, just opened a new business. And he was like, oh, really? What? Anyway, so I turned that into a situation. I got my $5 back or whatever it was. But then I gave that guy a card and told him where I was, and he lives in the neighborhood. So I like shamelessly self-promote.
Love it. Oh my gosh, I love it. I remember my grandma. I'm like okay, my grandmother used to spend the mornings, pretty much every morning, she would sit at the table, or maybe even like once a week or once every couple days. I grew up with my mom and my grandma, and she would get the newspaper and she would cut out coupons at HEB. And,
Yeah.
she would just, and gosh, there were so many little things. And I remember thinking to myself, like, that doesn't seem like a lot of money. Like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
Um, and I remember her saying, in my day, $1 was a lot of money.
Yeah.
You could buy like a loaf of bread and a pack of cigarettes for like a quarter,
Right.
and I'm just like, what? She's like, I remember when eggs went up from 3 cents to 4 cents or something like that, and it's just like,
Yeah.
whoa, totally a perspective shift. But yeah, there was something really like endearing about her sitting down at the table every now and then and just like cutting out the newspaper coupons, and
Yeah.
then we'd go to the store and use them. I think she was really satisfied by that.
It's respectful. It's respectful of your means,
Yeah,
So you're living within your means, but your means don't define you,
yeah,
right? So
definitely.
that's what I try to remember is like, it's about the money, but it's not about the money. And
Hmm.
um, what I've realized recently is that what was hard for me before about that, like not buying a house when I was 27 for $100,000, is I had not been taught to, and I had a hard time holding agency for myself.
Hmm.
So respecting me enough to plan for my future.
Hmm.
And that's what I'm learning how to do. I mean, like we're all learning all the time. You're never too young to learn. You're never too old to learn. But like coupons, I can't believe I'm talking about coupons. Because I used to joke that I would pay to never use a coupon. Like I would, I didn't think they were cool. I don't know.
I'm just thinking about how many things are out there that you can get discounted. I mean, that just kind of brings to mind, like, I think, as we're talking about this, I'm reminded of like when I shifted my mind to a more money mindset, right? Where I'm
Yeah,
thinking long term, I'm thinking beyond, the thing I want that's, I can just put in my Amazon cart or whatever.
yeah,
I can't remember the last time I've done that other than, just buying cat supplies like cat litter and cat food. But, I think about that and I'm like, man, there's so many different like coupons, discounts, like you go on this day and you get a free whatever, or like, I don't know. Like I just think that when I shifted my mindset, it became really apparent that like there are a lot of different opportunities to save money and businesses give you incentive,
yeah.
to do that.
Hmm.
And so I think like to speak to your point about saying that you used to joke that you would spend money to not have to use a coupon.
Yeah.
But now you're going back in the grocery store line,
And saying it
interrupting the
and saying it in front of people, you
right
know?
and saying, I don't think you applied the coupons to my balance, and then getting your money, for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, yeah, I didn't even notice those things before when I was still in like I would pay to not have to use a coupon mindset. And now it's like, man, they're everywhere, like,
Hmm.
there always seems to be like a discounted or cheaper way to save money without compromising quality,
Right.
and I think, yeah, I think I appreciated that story a lot. It's a great anecdote.
And then, like attracts like
Yeah.
attracts like, and then water seeks its own level. Um,
Yeah.
so the more I'm aware of those things, the more I will attract it because I bring it into my atmosphere.
Hmm.
Um, and then it's true of the opposite way also. If you're not looking for it and you're not looking for ways to, save money and honor yourself and your family,
It
then
just won't. be there.
It goes
Yeah,
pretty quick. And
right.
then I recently learned, and you'll love this, um, because, I've been in therapy a long time, and, you go over things and you learn a lot about yourself
In
um,
therapy for
in
sure.
therapy. And then you start to see patterns of behavior,
Mhm.
hopefully, is what's happening, and what's
Hopefully,
serving you
yeah.
and what's not. But I heard recently that once you recognize the pattern of your behavior that is not serving you, once you recognize it, you know what it is, it's not unconscious anymore, then if it happens again, it's a choice.
Right.
It's not an
That's
obligation.
tough. That's a tough pill to
That's tough.
swallow,
That's
because
tough.
it's like, I think too, I also want to speak to that, because it was very black and white for me for a period of time. And now I feel like there is a little bit more gray area on that because it's like,
Mhm.
habituation is a thing. And I do think that at a certain point, it does permeate the subconscious mind. And
Yeah.
I think our subconscious mind is like a lot of times what's driving our decision making. And so it's almost as if, I guess here's what I want to say about that. I've found that when I am not aware of the thing that I once was aware of, right?
Mhm.
Um, it's still a choice, right? Because I had that discovery, but it's like
Yes.
it offers like another layer of awareness, right? Like a
Mhm.
new heightened, how do I apply the same understanding of that behavior pattern to this particular circumstance? And I've fallen short of that many times. And
Mhm.
it's like I thought I was done learning this lesson, and here it is again,
Right.
And but yes, I do think that we are faced with choices, right? And
Mhm.
there's nothing, I think the thing that keeps me stuck in patterns the most is fear, right? Like
Mhm.
having that choice and then like wandering off over here to do the thing I've always done because I'm scared to go the other direction, right?
'Cause
I don't
it's
know
almost
what's going to happen.
right. It's almost like having a GPS
Yeah.
to what you're familiar with, and you don't even know that's what's happening.
Right.
You're like,
Totally.
well, it's super chaotic over here, but I know what that is.
Yeah, it's familiar. It's
Yeah.
warm. Like I can handle it. I know what it is, and
Yeah.
it's not great. Like I'm not loving it, but that is a different direction.
Right. And then also
But
pausing when big decisions need to be made. And then you're the one that taught me this, and I think about it all the time, and I tell other people, it's like you're not bored, you're just not inviting chaos in your life anymore.
oh my gosh, right? Oh, I was so addicted to the chaos for so many years.
Right.
I can't even honestly tell you like I'm not still uncovering cycles of
I'm sure.
addiction to chaos. Like I'll say this, and we can go back and forth a little bit, but I'm in a securely attached relationship for the first time in my whole life,
Me
even like
too.
beyond my relationship with my dad. I know it's miraculous, but it's super confusing. I'm like, is this, does this make
Mi-
sense? Like,
The
is,
miracle
and
is not being attracted to the opposite anymore and being able to
right,
see the good.
exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Right. It's like
Mhm.
finding attraction towards the stable and the steady and the reliable, and
Calm, balanced,
um
secure.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like responsive,
Hmm.
all
People
those
who love
things.
you truly want you to feel loved, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
you should feel, I'm shooting on people, but you should feel comfortable being yourself
yes.
around them.
Yeah. If it feels
Like I think
edited, that's not you. Yeah. And that's also your
Yeah.
internal guidance system telling you something. Like if you can't be yourself
Right.
around certain people, you might want to
Totally.
do that. And then I always use my girlfriends, like, because I'm so lucky and grateful to have so many amazing, amazing women in my life. And you're one of them. And just people I can talk to and ask for advice. And then I know I'm going to get something back that is in my best interest, from a loving place, from a calm place, um, for my own good is
And
what
honest,
and
right?
honest.
Like
And
all those
sometimes
things,
it's not what you want to hear,
right? But it's loving and it's
but it's
kind,
loving and it's what you need to hear.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
and I can't
Okay,
talk
so
about, oh, go ahead.
go. No, 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 you go. You go.
Oh, that I can't talk about the fact that I went to school without talking about the advice that you gave me.
Okay,
Um,
this is perfect. That's where I was gonna take it anyway.
oh,
So,
really?
yeah.
That
Well, I was gonna, yeah, like, yeah, let's go there.
I think it's the same story, but you, after a series of heartbreak, um, you suggested a year of celibacy, and at first I was like, so what does that mean exactly? And, that just means
No,
just dating, just holding hands, just like, and then you said no, you just don't date, you don't pursue romantic interests, and you just truly be
no,
with yourself.
no
And
flings, like no friends with benefits, like
none of that.
just
Yeah, yeah,
right. I did
none of
it
that.
too. It was
It was
incredibly difficult.
right. And then about a month in, you called and you're like, so how are you doing with all that? This, and I said, it's so boring. I hate it. Why am I doing this? Um, uh,
Oh my gosh.
and it's not exciting. It's not exciting.
Right.
And then you said, maybe instead of looking at it like it's boring, maybe consider the fact that for the first time in your life, you're not inviting chaos into your life.
Yeah. Wow.
And you said, maybe, oh, it gives me chills because it's so, you said, maybe this is what peace feels like. And that was big.
I just
And
remember you having been in such a like turmoil. You were in
yeah,
turmoil, I mean, it was like agonizing for
right.
you, and it's like the empty space in our gut.
Yeah.
And what were you gonna say?
Oh, that, because of that, of following your suggestion. Oh, and I remember also, I was like, at first, I was like, I don't think I can do that. And then you go, it's just a suggestion.
Yeah, that is what I said. I was like, but I mean,
Just a suggestion. I was
I'm
like,
not
okay.
like I don't think anybody really responds well to like an authoritative thing anyway. Like I've
Yeah.
never had success with that.
No, it's
As
very
on
loving.
the
It's like,
receiving
I did it.
end.
It was hard. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, and look at, I mean, to me, what a fruitful experience because, it's just been so beautiful to watch you create this relationship with your significant other recently in the past
Hmm.
year or so. And I mean, it's just beautiful. It's like a perfect yin and yang, or like just you both
Yeah.
complement one another so much. And
And it's
the
so calm.
stability is so
Very,
safe, right?
yeah, safe, calm, stable. We're both parents, so that helps a lot. But
Yeah.
just real quick, going back to this celibacy thing,
Yes.
the most magical things happened that year. Like that's when I went back to school to be an esthetician.
Hmm.
And it's when I got the idea for this business. And I mean, it was a fruitful time. And
Hmm.
yeah, that's where a lot of magic happened and a lot of, having a vision and following it through. And um, yeah, am I really going to say this? Yeah, I wouldn't change anything. As if I
Oh
could.
my God.
I mean, the past is written in stone, right? So you
Yes.
just, no matter what is going on with you any given day, you cannot change the past. We have zero hope of that. right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
living in the day, the present, and then, learning from the past, to not make the same mistakes or live the same patterns that are hurting us
Totally.
and others, right?
Totally. I'm curious, like, because you're talking about your inspiration with school and with the business, like, can you expand upon, you know, during this period of celibacy, right, where you're really focused on yourself?
Mhm.
Can you kind of like share like a little insight on, the thought process maybe? I mean, I think there are probably quite a few listeners who, are probably at various different points in
All
their
right.
lives. But I know for myself, like, I remember the time before I started a business and just really didn't know how to pick up on the clues, of like how to follow that purpose. And so I'm curious about, your story and the inspiration with going to school and, did you have the plan to start the business initially, and kind of walk
Hmm.
me through that.
Oh, okay. So I just knew I needed another way to make money for me and my children. And then that seemed to go hand in hand with massage. And with massage, I've always worked for myself also. I've had studios and offices and like a shared space with massage therapists. So I knew I didn't want to work for anyone else. Um, but I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with an esthetician license besides just have my own place. Um, and then when we were in school, one of my favorite projects was, okay, you have a spa. You get to pick what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it smells like, and you can create your menu, right? Sorry, of services that you offer and all that. And so I just went with that because I thought, how cool would it be if it could be like kind of rock and roll,
Mm-hmm.
So I took the project home and was working on it with my children, and they were
Wow.
like helping me. Honestly, they were helping me with Canva because I'm so bad with Canva. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it was hard. It was a whole new world, and that was a whole other story, the technology gap. But I did it, and I learned a lot. Um, so we were like coming up with how it looked and putting like a collage together, and then I'm like, I want it to sound rock and roll, but not cheesy. Because what it like Stairway to Heaven massage, no, because that could be misconstrued in a lot of ways.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
like we were just throwing some stuff out there, and then one of my girlfriends called, and I kind of told her what we were working on. I go, but I can't think of a name, and then she said Satisfaction. So yeah, so that was my friend Risa in LA,
Oh my
who's
gosh.
one of the smartest women I've ever known. And you
Oh
should
my
interview
gosh.
her. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so,
We will have to make an intro.
yeah. And so the Rolling Stones were my dad's favorite band. He was in a Rolling Stones cover band. I grew up hearing that music. So it just fit perfectly.
Mhm.
But it was just a project, right? So
Right.
then towards the end, so like in May, I was graduating. And the week before I graduated, I drove by a strip center in my neighborhood that every time I'd pass it while I was in school, I would think I would love to have a place there. It's so close to everything. It's 3 minutes from my house, 3 minutes from both schools for the girls. And I called a friend that works on the strip, and I said, is anything coming open anytime soon? I'm about to graduate from esthetician school, all that. He's like, places rarely open up and up here. He's like, I've been here 25 years, but if I hear anything, I'll let you know. And then, and I have to say also, when I called him that day, I was in a very calm space. I was on my back porch watching my dogs, kind of sort of meditating, and then also like, what am I going to do with this license? Cause I'm about to graduate. And then TJ crossed my mind, and that's when I called him. So I think that's important because, when things feel urgent or just like an emergency and you can't, need to make a decision, that is not the time to make a decision.
Right.
Like I've heard, if it feels urgent, God's not in it, and I love that. So he texted me less than a week later, and he's like, someone's leaving. I don't know who's leaving, but someone's leaving the Strip. He goes, here's the landlord's number, call him. So I called the landlord, and I said, well, is something open? He said, yes. And then I said, well, what is it? And he's like, I don't know, because commercial spaces change all the time, and they have a lot of properties. So when I met him the next morning, we walked into this space, and I said, so this place is for rent? And he said, yeah. I go, the place we're standing in right now? And he said, yeah. And it was a completely finished out esthetician office with, because you have to have sinks. Like the whole night before, I was up worried. I was like, okay, it probably is like going to look like this in the bad way. And then you have to spend so much money to build it out and all that. So there were sinks in 2 of the rooms already. And I changed the decor and all that, but it was exactly where I wanted it. It was at a good price. And
it's the corner studio too.
It's the best one in the whole Strip.
I know, with like right next to the parking. I mean, it's just
it's the best one. And I'm glad I'm telling that story, because I need to remember all those things too. Just gratitude for that.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, that's what inspired you to start a business. I mean, to me, that's just so beautiful. I mean, I'm curious, like, since that was so, I want to say like intuitive, and like it felt aligned, right? Like you had this moment of inspiration, you acted upon it. It sounds like you were definitely flowing in the stream of life, if you will. Can you talk a little bit about some of the obstacles that you faced throughout the process, whether that be in school, whether that be in, I know you spoke a little bit about, balancing your budget while you were in school, but like in terms of, opening the business, and I mean, I'm sure there may have been some fears of certain things throughout that experience. Yeah. So I'm curious to hear a little bit about that.
Well, wow. So in school, I loved learning, but I was technologically so behind everybody. And I checked, I was the oldest person in the whole school, including the director and every teacher. I didn't look as old. I was going to say. So that was very intimidating. And, but the girls in the class were so sweet. And I had this certain look on my face. And there was this one girl, Avery, she would look at me and like makes you want to cry, shake her head. And then I'd go over there and she'd show me how to do it, because they were doing their schoolwork also, And then I asked my girls for help, and most of the time they knew how to do it. But this one night, and it was about 2 weeks into school, and, it's kind of relentless. And, I was having a hard time with the technology, and I was crying in the middle of the kitchen. And I was telling the girls, I'm like, I just don't think I can do it. I can't do it. I don't think I'm capable. And then Aria, my little one, she was so little. She's grown so much since then, but she was little, and she put her arms around me and she looked up at me and she's like, you can do this, Mom. She's like, you can do this.
Oh my gosh.
So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. They're just so sweet and so supportive. And, we all make mistakes as parents. And I'm sure I've made a lot, but I also want the girls to see, adversity, and then being on the other side of adversity. And, that's okay. That's how you learn. Like like, I don't, my biggest lessons that I've learned that helped me never came out of like being on vacation in Mexico or something. It's like the tough things, the things that hurt, the things that hurt you so bad that you stop and listen to, you know, what the universe is trying to tell you, what your friends are trying to say, you know. So what else? Oh, challenges. Oh, and then also just all the little bitty things that you have to do to open a business. And like you helped me with the LLC. And then even with help, I was still like, what's going on? And then, you know, licensing for a salon, you know, I already had the shop and I didn't even have my esthetician license yet, like the official thing, because I hadn't taken the state board yet. But I was very confident I would pass, and I did. But we didn't open until I got it. But yeah, on September 1st.
Wow.
So
yeah.
Yeah, and then another challenge was, you know, we did all the work ourselves. Like my brother and I, Travis, painted this whole place. He did it mostly. I helped sometimes. Painted this whole place. He put new tile in it. And then his emotional support was so healing. Because I was going nuts. I mean, I was like very stressed out. And he was like, Leslie, he goes, you took the leap. You took the leap and the net's going to appear. You know, you're building your future. You're like all these positive things. I'm like, it just doesn't feel like that today.
Totally.
But I remember one time we were having sandwiches on top of a box, like a cardboard box in the middle of this place. And there's tarps and paint and everything. And I just looked at him and I go, thanks for always being so patient with me.
Oh
and
God.
And then he looked at me and he goes, same. And I was just like, it's beautiful.
Oh my gosh. I just like looking at you sitting in your shop right now, like I call it the shop, but like in your place of business.
I call it the shop too. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just like, I'm looking at like how much of a reflection of you and like this hard work that you've put into it. And I think it's just so beautiful to see it come to fruition and like to have known you throughout the process. And I think, you know, there are so many people I think that would like to do something like that, you know, and maybe even might be like scared to make a move in that direction. I find your story so inspirational, and what a beautiful thing that you've been able to create in your life. And it took a lot of hard work and determination and perseverance. And
sweet.
I'm
Me too.
so proud of you.
Thanks. Yeah. I'm proud of you too. It's the mutual admiration club here.
I know. Gosh, seriously. I feel like we could gush about it all day.
But I think to single moms or mothers that are out there, I could say the same thing that Arya looked up at me and said is like, you can do this. You can. It's doable. It's all doable. You're smart. You're worthy. And, you know, I validate the struggle because the underside of growth is always a little bit painful, right? But it's worth it. And
that reminds me.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's your experience like now, like shifting from being a stay-at-home mom to being a working businesswoman? Like, has that impacted your relationship with yourself and with your girls? And like, I'm sure that was quite a transition for them. Yeah. And also, you know, I'm curious about, it really opens up a can of worms, but I want to hear your experience, and we may go into some of it.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, wait. Okay. So so I was spending, well, first of all, to be able to go to school, I had to get people to pick up from school 2 days a week because I share custody with my girls. So I have them either 2 or 3 days a week. So I had to find someone that would cover picking them up and keeping them till 5 o'clock. And so I sat on that for a long time for my decision making. And then, we're friends with a family in our neighborhood, and my oldest is best friends with their oldest. My youngest is best friends with their youngest. So we do all kinds of carpool stuff together, and soccer, theater, school, everything. Anyway, but I was very scared to ask for help because I didn't want to put anyone out. But then I ended up asking their mom, who I always say is one of the sweetest people I've ever met in the whole world, my whole life. But I was explaining, she knew I was thinking about going to school, and I was like, so I need to ask you something, and I'm okay with whatever the answer is. I need you to know that I'm okay no matter what you say. And I just explained to her what the schedule would be like. And she stopped me before I finished, and she said, so that we love your girls. We would love to have them anytime. And of course I'll do that for you. So, you're in a vulnerable place when you're asking for help. But I'm just so grateful. And then it also does this thing that like gives you hope in humanity kind of, that like people really show up for people. And okay, going back to your question. What was it? Other challenges?
Yeah,
yes.
Do you ever experience guilt?
Oh, yes. So that's why I was mentioning that. I experienced a lot of guilt when I was in school. Wasn't able to pick them up. I used to pick up Arya every Wednesday and go get frozen yogurt. That was like our thing. So I couldn't do that anymore. And then, so there was school and time away from them. But then once I started to build a business, which was immediately, I was doing this a lot. And then once the business opened, they were already in school, not this last September 1st, but the one before. And, I felt very guilty that I wasn't able to volunteer for the theater stuff anymore, or the other, things I used to do at the schools, which wasn't a ton, but I liked doing it when I could. So I had immense guilt about that. And then someone told me, and this is like 2 weeks ago, she said, when you're feeling guilty as a mom or a single mom or just a woman, if you're feeling guilty as a woman who is a parent about, not being there for their children because they have a job or they have a career, ask yourself, would a man feel this way? And I was like, oh, I could just let go of that now.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good barometer of, being able to.
If this was being measured and I was a man, we wouldn't even be, there would be it would be like an amazing. Yeah. So, and my girls know that, they're flourishing. They're doing great in school. And, and it's not like I don't talk about it. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just so sorry I'm busy all the time. We're like, Mom, we don't care. We don't care. We're proud of you. Yeah. And they're like, we don't want you to be in the PTA. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's great. It's wonderful.
Right. But they're not needing it. I think, I think too, it's interesting. First of all, I love that is a good, like, litmus test, if you will. Yeah. Like, would a man feel guilty about this? But I also, I think it's so beautiful that your girls get to watch you do this thing, and I think it just speaks to the importance of quality time, not quantity of time, and I'm just like, that's really neat. And, I think you've shared a lot about like how you've overcome some of these challenges. And they're like so many nuggets of wisdom and like experience through, the trials that you've been through. And,
Mm.
I've got a couple more questions, and, I'm curious, what's your relationship with money like today? Like, is there, for me, I know I'm on a journey with it, and
Yeah.
I'm doing it publicly. And in fact, I had my first hater on some of my reels come on. It's somebody I know, and just like
What?
tear me down. Like, I should not be. Who would want to take financial advice from you? Like that kind of stuff. And I'm
Wow.
thinking to myself, well, first of all, I'm not giving financial advice. Like, I don't want to get into a legal liability about it.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, it really, like, it's like a punch in the gut,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's inspiring in the sense that I want to continue to have better financial health, and I want to continue to grow assets and get out of debt and
Yeah.
share that publicly. I'm opening myself up and to that
I
criticism.
think
And
that's
I'm curious.
beautiful. Because
Yeah,
people don't talk about it enough.
right. It's very
Like,
taboo. And yeah, like, I'm curious, like, as far as your relationship with money, and like, now that you're a business owner, now that you're a single mom, now that you're, you know, requesting your coupon discounts in the grocery store.
coupons.
What's your, yeah, what's your relationship with money like today,
Well, like you, I'm still on a journey, still learning. Um, and some people that I really love say, progress, not perfection. And
Yeah.
and I don't use that as an excuse, but I use that as a way to keep going when I feel discouraged. And
Yeah.
I it's getting better. It's better. I can honestly say it's better than it's ever been. And one of my problems is that I compulsively shopped, and I don't do that anymore.
Mm.
And I don't use any credit cards. I,
Mm.
I'm I'm never going to use a credit card again, because I don't want to be in debt, and I'm learning different ways to live, and
Yeah.
it's really exciting most days. But like recently, I took a trip. It was like a very spontaneous trip to New York City because my boyfriend was working and had a free hotel room and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but I I didn't take a credit card, and
Wow.
I knew I wasn't going to compulsively shop, and
That's a
it
huge thing being in
it
New
was
York.
huge. Yeah, because I'm like, and it
Hmm.
was Fashion Week, so
Oh
I,
my gosh.
I know. So the first day I was walking around by myself because my boyfriend was working a lot at night with the project they were doing, and then um, so I had a lot of days by myself. But I would go to coffee shops, and then I would go to a 12-step meeting because they're on this cool app. So I go to different parts of the city and do that. And it was like instant friends, instant dopamine release that was real
Yeah.
and based on something authentic. And yeah, I didn't use it. And the first day was hard. I mean, I felt really sorry for myself that first day. But it was kind of like because I don't drink anymore and haven't drank in 21 years. But it was reminiscent of when I first stopped drinking and just like learning how
Wow.
to be anywhere, not doing that. So
Yeah.
that felt a lot like that. And what it felt like was authentic. It felt in control. It didn't feel like powerlessness or, I wasn't looking for a fix for,
Right.
like, and it's almost like you get addicted to hurting yourself
Yeah.
financially. So,
Yeah.
because it's all you know. So, um, I take that as a win. And,
Oh,
I also now I write down everything I spend and everything I make. And, just the fact that I'm doing that in and of itself is a true miracle.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's nothing better than like creating the muscle memory of physically jotting it down and seeing where your money's going. Like I don't think I understood that initially,
Yeah.
when I started to become an adult, I guess. I'm like,
Yeah.
when I started having a job and was making money, that
Mm-hmm.
like, tracking where every dollar, every cent was going is like the first step,
Yeah.
and that level of accountability. Because people are like, I don't know how to budget. I don't know. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I'll pull 30, 60 days worth of my bank statements, my primary card, and I'll literally just write it down and I'll add it up in little
Yeah.
buckets, And I don't think I realized that. Like that's how
Mm-hmm.
you do it, is you look at past history to see
Mm-hmm.
where it's been going. And
Yeah.
then
To
that
make
can kind of
averages.
dictate,
Mm-hmm.
right, where you want
Um,
it to go. And it's
uh,
like, man,
yeah. Because sometimes I would know I was making a lot of money, but it wasn't all accounted for or budgeted. And then all of a sudden it's gone. And it's like,
yeah.
I don't like how
Yeah.
that feels in my body anymore, you know?
It feels out of control,
Yeah.
and like the chaos, right?
Yeah.
Yay, progress.
Yeah. Yay, progress.
I'll end with this last. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Go
Oh, I was just gonna say I'll end with this last question because I'm curious, like what suggestions you might have for other women who are financially dependent on a significant other, a husband, a partner,
Mhm.
um, that are looking to gain control of their own finances and um, get into a better spot where they're able to feel some more security.
Um, I would tell them exactly what I tell my girls. And that is, it's important to get an education so that you can support yourself completely. So that when you do choose a partner to share your life with, you're there because you want to be, not because you have to be. Um, and to always have a way to make your own money, whatever that means to that person.
Yeah,
Right?
that kind of hit a nerve. I'm like, I can't tell
Well,
I mean, that was like one of my whole motives in going to school,
yeah.
was to
And nobody,
have a
I mean,
great
no one ever told me
security.
that. Like I had a client say it because she was doing Big Brothers and Sisters, and she said that to the girl she was sponsoring, and I was like in tears. I'm like, no one ever told me that. I've never heard that message. And
Wow.
I think it's important for everyone, men and women, but especially for women and especially for young girls,
Yeah.
empowered.
Leslie, I just want to say thank you so
You're
much for coming
welcome. Well, this
on
was great
the
because it's like
podcast.
we got to hang out.
I know it was, yeah, I really enjoyed it too. And I think we need to do like an annual check-in, where
Oh,
we
I would
we
love
talk
that.
about, how the business is doing and how your girls
Mhm.
are doing and what life is
Oh,
like, because I just find your, like, as I've said, I think 3 or 4 times, I find your story so inspirational, and it's like a true testament of what women are capable of. And so,
oh,
yeah, I just thank you so much.
oh, thank you. That's real
And
sweet.
yeah, yes, yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you. And for those who are tuning in next Wednesday, I will be interviewing Export Compliance Counsel David Ivy from the University of Texas. He is a licensed Texas attorney, and we're going to be talking about some interesting topics, around investment and the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, and investing overseas, and some things to look out for. So join me next Wednesday at 10 a.m. and I hope you all have just such a wonderful week.
Oh.